Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. It is the fifth in our series of the winner of the 2021 Natspec Awards webinars. So welcome, as I say, to the webinar today. My name is Yola Jacobson, and I am the manager of the Natspec Transform CPD service. So I'm delighted to have with us today Emma Seaman, who's the Marketing and Communications Manager at the Eat That Frog organisation. And congratulations, Emma and Eat That Frog, because they were winners of the Wellbeing and Mental Health Award, Natspec Award. And Emma is going to tell you about their community wellbeing programme, which won the award. So I'm now going to stop sharing my screen. And I'm going to hand over to Emma so she can share her screen. And off we go. Thank you, Emma.
Thank you, Yola. I'm just going to share with you the presentation so that you've got something to look at rather than looking at me for the next 20 minutes or so. So I wanted to talk to you this afternoon. Obviously, Eat That Frog, we were absolutely delighted to win the Natspec Award this year for our wellbeing and mental health support, because it is something that we take very, very seriously. We are slightly different from some of the other colleges that might be part of Natspec. We started life as a community interest company that was started by our three directors because they had been working in other industries. They'd been working in education, they'd been working in the care industry, and they'd become very aware that people were sort of cycling round the system, and they were never being able to sort of break free of the cycle of support and actually be able to go out and live sort of more independent and more fulfilled lives. So what they wanted to do was to create a company or create an establishment where you would actually help people find out what their barriers were and enable them to overcome those barriers so that they could progress forward and not just into another form of help or support. So right from day one, we've really been based around people and values and quality. But as a community interest company, we're also very keen that everything we do doesn't just benefit our learners or our staff, but that it also benefits the communities that we live and work in. And that's why when we started to look at our health and wellbeing programme, that was very, very tightly tied into our community, into supporting other people. So what do? We have a mixture of provision. One of the reasons that we are a member of Natspec is because gradually over the last 10 years that we've been going, we've started to work with more and more young people on post-16 education, particularly for young people with social and emotional health issues. So we have a lot of young people who may have been bullied at school, suffer from chronic anxiety, they may be elective mutes, but essentially they're young people with Asperger's often or autism who haven't thrived in sort of mainstream education. They haven't found that the school or college environment has worked very well for them. And then they tend to be placed with us at 16 on the request of their parents and commissioned by the local authority to come and be with us. And we give them a very bespoke one-to-one provision that helps them overcome those barriers to learning and those barriers to moving forward in life. And over the last 10 years, we've gradually sort of built up the number of young people we're working with. And I think we're on this year, I think across our 4 centres in Plymouth, Newton Abbot, Paignton and Torquay, I think we've got just under 100 young people this year. But that's not the only cohort that we work with. We also work very closely with a lot of older people, so over 19s, and we do a lot of work with the DWP and the Job Centre to help older people, again, looking at their barriers and moving closer to the workplace. One of the things that we worked out a couple of years ago is that the Job Centre were coming to us and saying, oh, well, we really want you to help to move these people closer to work. And the people that we were working with, we realised that you know, just giving them a qualification for a job or helping them with a CV or helping them with a cover letter was not going to support those people into sustainable employment. But what people needed was help that started earlier on with their confidence, with their motivations, with all the other things that were going on in their lives that was making them difficult for them to find work and then stay in work. So again, our model was already moving very much earlier to looking at people's mental and physical health rather than just looking at the qualifications they needed to work. So over the last year, we work with about 1,500 people. We do a lot of qualifications. We do from entry level 3 up to level 2 at the moment, with some GCSE provision for our young people who are able to go to that. We have a 96% success rate, and 40% of the people who are on our adult programs progress into work, which we think is fantastic, given that some of these people are coming to us and really are people that haven't worked for many years. The whole idea is that we're putting more back into the community. We're helping people discover their own talents and discover their own confidence, and we're helping people towards a position where they're not going to be sort of reliant on the benefit system or dependent on other people, but they're actually going to be able to live a more fulfilled life. So, as I say, we have the post-16 education and the adult education. We also offer a lot of community support. So we do a lot of projects that are embedded within the community, and they enable our learners to get real hands-on experience, for example, with horticulture or with catering. But the end result of that is something that actually benefits the wider community. So, for example, the young learners in the kitchen will be cooking dinner on a Friday, and then that's served to our elderly people who come along to a Friday lunch club. So you get some lovely intergenerational working that the young people are cooking and serving and mingling with the older age group, but also it gives a really lovely, safe, warm space where some of the more vulnerable old people can come on a Friday and get a lovely, you know, fresh cooked meal in a really nice setting and get some social interaction. So that's the way we kind of weave together what we're doing for our learners with what we want to do for people outside in the community. We also do a lot of specialist educational support contracts. So we do things like the Prince's Trust Team Programme. We have something called the Youth Hub, which is a DWP initiative for young people who've been very badly affected by the COVID crisis and have sort of been left a little bit adrift because their education and employment prospects were affected by COVID. And we also are part of the Kickstart scheme. So we've been giving young people a sort of 6-month placement to try and get them the experience to go into work. I've actually got a young Kickstart person working with me in marketing who's absolutely fantastic, and I desperately want to be able to give her a job when her Kickstart time comes to an end, because you know, I think she's done a fantastic job. So that's been a really worthwhile programme as well. And it's our 10-year anniversary this year. We wanted to do some kind of really big celebration event or party. We wanted to do something with our learners. We wanted to do something with our stakeholders. And we haven't even been able to have a staff party yet this year because of the dreaded COVID. I'm currently trying to plan a Christmas party for staff, and we're not even sure whether we're going to be able to do that. Last year, our Christmas party was done over Teams. It was great fun, but it would be really lovely if we could actually get together before the end of our 10th year and have a proper celebration. But, you know, fingers crossed, we'll wait and see. So these are the locations we work from. As you can see, we're primarily based in South Devon. We have done quite a lot of work in Somerset. We've had centres in Wiltshire, and we also do some work into the edges of Cornwall as well. The advent of COVID and putting a lot of our courses online meant that we've been able to actually expand some of our work out of our sort of normal South Devon geographical area, so that we can offer it further afield into Cornwall and Somerset and North Devon. For those of you that don't know the area very well, Devon is almost sort of split in half by Dartmoor in the middle. We're south of Dartmoor, Newton Abbott's just south of Dartmoor, and it does make travel between the two sides sides of Devon actually very slow and very painful. There is no motorway that takes you between the two halves of Devon. It's actually quicker to get to Cornwall from where we are. So the advent of online courses and being able to offer our sort of wellbeing online has meant that actually we've been supporting some young people in Cornwall and North Devon with that over the last year. And this is very much the aspect of South Devon that people see. I've got a couple of postcard pictures here. One that shows Torquay Marina lit up beautifully at night. One that shows the very picturesque and beautiful ancient harbour in Brixham. And this is the idea that people have of South Devon. It's somewhere you come on holiday. It's very beautiful. It's very traditional. It's a very happy place to live. And all of that is actually true, but it kind of hides what's behind the beautiful picture postcard exterior, which actually is that it's we've got some of the most deprived areas actually in England down here. And again, this is the bit that people don't see when they come on holiday, and this is the bit that we are constantly trying to tackle. The stats from Torbay Council for 2018-19, one of the highest rates of domestic violence in the UK, the second highest suicide rate, high number of children living in poverty, very high number of children in care, a lot of other areas. We tend to get children in care from other areas because when marriages break up, families move down here. Often the mum moves down here, often if she is escaping domestic violence, and we do end up with a lot of very troubled children down here. 25% of the population is age 65 plus. I mean, that's kind of obvious because obviously it's a lovely place to come and retire by the seaside. You know, people have had lovely holidays here throughout their life and then think, oh, well, I'll retire there. It does mean, of course, there's a huge amount of pressure on our care services and our NHS. We do have, unfortunately, a very severe drug problem in certain parts of the Bay. And the other problem is that although our average earnings down here are quite low, below the national average, our house prices are quite high because it is a desirable place to live. So you have a very big gap between you know, what people are earning and what they can afford, which makes life very difficult for young people to get on the housing ladder. So all in all, although Torbay and South Devon is fantastic, you can see that we have a lot of social problems, and obviously that leads to a big knock-on in terms of the sort of support that we're trying to offer people. As you can see, this is a map of deprivation for Torbay. Our centres are actually based in two of the most deprived areas. Our Centre for Paynton and our Centre for Torquay are both within the sort of dark navy blue areas. I don't know if anybody's watching from the Isle of Wight, but the Institute of Fiscal Studies did a report on the impacts of COVID last year, and Torbay and Isle of Wight were the two areas that they were most bothered about because of the elderly populations, obviously the impact on the care and the NHS systems, and also because we are very reliant on tourism and hospitality for our employment and incomes down here, and obviously those are two of the areas that have most badly been affected by COVID. So it's fun times at the moment, and we're obviously trying to battle through it. Now, why am I being so miserable going on about the deprivation and all the sort of dark side behind the postcard prettiness of where we live? Well, I think it's to emphasize the fact that we've been taking seriously for a number of years the emotional health and well-being of the people that we come across every day. So not just the young people that we have a sort of duty of care for, our young people on our post-16 programs, but also the adult learners that we work with and the community people that we interact with every day. And I think as a result of that, we started quite a few years ago to start looking at the training and the support that we were giving our staff to be able to work effectively with people to support them. So all of our staff are mental health first aid trained, our frontline staff. I've actually got a whole new intake of new teachers this year, and I'm arranging mental health first aid training for them as well. We also look at things like suicide awareness. We have qualifications in sort of relevant areas. And training for things like drugs and domestic violence drop-ins as well, to make sure that if staff do encounter something, that it's something that they're able to support in that instant, but also that they know where to go and get the professional help and support. The second part of that is that we started before COVID to look at doing a bespoke health and wellbeing programme. We started this 2.5 years ago, and we devised a plan for a programme that people could work through in a very gentle pace, that would start with sort of an awareness of where they were personally, and then give them lots of different little bite-sized modules that they could work through to look at the different aspects of their own health and well-being, so that hopefully by the time they worked through this cycle, they'd be feeling a lot better and they'd be better able to face the challenges of the world. We called this programme It's My Life, with the idea that people would be looking at their life and getting the support for looking at the things that affected them. The modules that people work through, we do it in sort of little chunks, and we do it, I don't know if you can see the picture on the screen, but it's like the petals of a flower, and you can kind of work around the petals of the flower. So emotional resilience, stress management, and assertive behaviour. We look at the effects of sleep on health. This is an absolutely huge one. I think we all know that if you don't sleep properly, it knocks onto your mental health and it knocks onto your physical well-being. But you would be amazed how many of our young people we do the sleep module with, and they say, oh, well, you know, I've been drinking my energy drinks, and I've been drinking my coffee, and I've had my TV on, and I've had my screen on, and I've had my lights on in my room, and I can't get to sleep, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning. And then you have to sort of develop with them this idea of the sort of sleep hygiene and winding down and looking at the things that can help them. We look at things like balanced diet and exercise, social media and mental health, which again is huge. Now, interestingly enough, the young people, the post-16 learners, they seem to be pretty savvy with this, which surprises you to some degree. You'd think that they were the people that would be very badly affected. The young people seem to be quite savvy about the fact that social media is not always the best thing for their mental health, and they seem to have quite a good degree of skepticism about certain things. It's actually the older people for whom social media has come a little bit later in their life without all the sort of health warnings around it, who are the people that are realizing that they're being quite badly affected by it. We look at body image, confidence and self-awareness, and then we have a module which is all about healthy relationships. Now, this one has been very it's fantastic with the young people, but again, this has been very good with some of our older learners as well, and it's been something that we've actually been working with the local Torbay domestic violence group from Torbay Council. There's a very long waiting list for some of the professional support for domestic violence down here, and what they've been doing is actually sending some of their people along to us to do certain of our modules to kind of keep them in the loop and keep them supported while they're waiting for the professional support, and that one has been very popular with that. The last two flowers, the last two petals in the flower, if you like, are ones that are looking very much more towards the moving people into employment. So that's personal development, action planning, budgeting and money management, because again, we all know if you're in debt or you're struggling with money, that's going to be very bad for your mental health. And then looking at employability skills. So those we tend to, they tend to be for the older learners, for the adult learners. The young learners, the post-16 learners, would be doing those as part of their RAPA and part of their learning with us anyway. Let's just move forward. So we started trialing this programme with the young people and also with some of the adult learners in 2019. And then, of course, March 2020, COVID struck. And we were very, very aware that our young people, a lot of them would be learning from home, that this could be a real problem for some of them. Some of them were fantastic. You know, being at home in their bedroom on a screen with their tutor was actually more comfortable for them than being in centre. And we wanted to make sure that all the sort of good work that we'd done with young people wasn't being lost during COVID. And we were also very aware that it wasn't just our young people, it was also our staff, and it was also the wider people in the wider communities that we work with, that this was going to affect them hugely, that being locked down and all the anxiety was really going to be a problem for people's mental health. Just before COVID hit, I'd actually received a small pot of funding from Torbay Council to put on some of our health and wellbeing programs. And when COVID hit, I phoned them up and said, look, could I still have the funding, but could I use it in a different way? Could I use it to put all of our health and wellbeing programs online, to make some little online courses that we can then offer out to absolutely anybody, to support people through COVID? And luckily they were quite forward thinking and said, yeah, that sounds like a really good use of the money, go ahead. So we were able to put it on from mid-April 2020. We got it up and running really quickly. And by the end of July, we'd actually supported more people in a couple of months than we'd originally been planning to support with that funding for the whole year. So it just shows you how popular it was. Our post-16 tutors were able to offer this out to the young people who were studying at home, so that they could work through modules with them on Teams, which worked really well. And we were also able, with tutor support, to offer this out to adults across Torbay, and as I say, as far out as sort of Cornwall and North Devon and a sort of surrounding area. And it has been incredibly popular. It's been really, really well received by people. We're continually tweaking the little modules and changing things and adding things in and doing different things. And it's just been a real success, and we're really, really pleased. You can see by the little outcome star on this picture here how much people say that they've benefited, how they feel their confidence has grown and their motivation and things like that. But interestingly enough, it's also helped with other things because of that challenge of doing something online. People were also saying that it's been helping them with using their IT at home, because they've been so keen to join in the sessions. They've actually been happy to sort of go on and use Zoom or use Teams and talk to the tutor and do the online course. And it's been really, really positive. The other thing that we've really been looking at over the last sort of year and a half with our young people is that as soon as we were able to, because of our specialist education status, we started to teach people back in centre. But obviously there was still a lot of restrictions on what people could do in groups and how our young people could mix and mingle. And we were very, very anxious that we didn't just keep people in the online world, that we tried to do as much as possible so that young people wouldn't be affected by the fact that they sort of lost a year of socializing. I mean, I know with my own teenagers who don't particularly have special needs, who are in a mainstream school, that their social confidence and their socializing over the last year has dropped to virtually zero. And obviously my kids have sort of struggled through it, but with some of our children that we've been working on for years to try and improve their confidence and their social skills, COVID has just knocked them back so much. It's been appalling. So what we've been trying to do is to do activities where we can take people out and about and we can improve that resilience and confidence, so that, you know, when things start getting back to normal and when they do finish their time with us, they are still able to go into work placements or go out into the community and thrive. So we've been doing things, so we've got a picture here of one of our learners, Tamara, on the beach. Tamara is an incredibly talented young chef. She's makes the sort of cakes and puddings to die for, and she's been doing a huge amount of work during COVID, supporting our chef in the kitchen, doing the meals for the lunch club and helping with the meals for the elderly people. But we were very aware that sort of being in the kitchen with the chef tutor and, you know, being at college was not giving her any sort of contacts outside of college and outside of that work. So we started up trying to find out what else Tamara liked, and she really loves animals, really loves dogs. So we've created a little sort of dog walking round for her, so that people that are unable to go out and walk their own dogs due to sort of not being very well or being a little bit infirm, or the weather being bad and them not feeling they want to go out in it, Tamara is actually going out and walking the dog. So Tamara is happy as anything, because she can't have a dog at home, but she can go out and have her animal interaction and make herself a little bit of pocket money doing some dog walking. And the people are absolutely delighted, because they've got this lovely enthusiastic young person giving their dogs the exercise they need. So it's kind of thinking about how you can give people that sort of experience in a way that supports everybody. And that's the kind of things we've been doing. You've got on the screen here some quotes from some of our young people, and the sort of things that they're feeling when they've been through the process. Just how to look at themselves and how to know that they need to improve these things, but giving them the hints and tips to help them actually do that. Looking again at our community impact during COVID, I haven't got a picture of it on here because it only happened last night, but one of our staff was actually awarded the British Empire Medal last night for her work during COVID. She was the lady that ran our kitchen during the first 2 lockdowns, and made sure that meals were going out every week to the most vulnerable people in our local area. She turned our community fridge and our catering kitchen into a sort of provision for hot meals for people that were shielding or unable to get food for themselves, which was a fantastic piece of work, and it was very lovely to see her rewarded for that. Our community fridge and our Christmas hampers continued to provide support for some of the poorest and most vulnerable people throughout the whole of the COVID lockdown, and we had a lot of volunteers come in and help us with that. We also did some other things. We did some activities via Zoom with local care homes. We did some Christmas card making activities. So some of our young people helped me pack up packs of craft materials that we could then get delivered out to the care homes. And then once the packs were with the care homes, we did a Zoom session with a demonstration of this is how you make the Christmas card. And then the people in the care homes could actually join in and make Christmas cards. And what they actually did with that was really, really sweet. They sent them to the local primary schools, because a lot of the local primary schools had been sending cards to the people in the care homes to cheer them up and to you know, make everything a little bit lighter and brighter. And the residents in the care homes were delighted, because they were doing our session. They had some lovely cards that they could then send back to the children in the primary schools. So it was a really really lovely little circle of sort of well-being that was going on there for, you know, our learners, our staff, the care home residents, and then out to the local primary schools as well. It was a really lovely piece of work. One of the other things that we're really enjoying at the moment is something called Parkfield, which I'll get onto in a minute, but it's a local it's not really a stately home. It's a local, very nice house with very large grounds around it, and we've been doing a lot of work in the grounds, and I'll show you that in a minute. But we've been doing a lot of work there over COVID as well. We offer a lot of things that support community wellbeing at Eat That Frog. So we have a community fridge at the front of our Paynton Centre, and a baby boutique. So that basically is food that we We collect from the local supermarket. In our case, it's Morrison's. It's surplus to requirement. It's stuff that they can't sell. It's close to expiry date and they know they're not going to be able to sell it. They've overstocked. So usually things like fresh fruit and veg, eggs, bread. And we pick all of that up and we have it in the front of the, we have a little shop area. And it's a fantastic project because it means that local people can come in and pick up the free food. The majority of the people that use it are people who are on very low incomes, but the original idea of it was actually that it was for people who might want to be thinking about sustainability as well, because it's actually preventing tons upon tons every year of perfectly good food that would just normally be put in a skip and go to landfill from the supermarket. Because it comes to us and then the community can access it, it's actually you know, it's a really lovely, again, virtuous cycle of people being supported with free food and it's not going into landfill. The baby boutique, as it says, is sort of, you know, a clothes swap for clothes for young mums who might not have a huge amount of income. We've been offering some family cooking sessions and also some sessions for carers. We've been working very closely with the Torbay Carers, part of Torbay Council, to get the carers to actually be able to come out and do something fun and do something that they can enjoy and they can relax, but that is quite worthwhile for them. So we've been teaching them things like making bread or making their own toiletries, things that they can actually, you know, maybe take back and use in their everyday life, but it's just a chance to do something for them instead of being carers for a day. We are part of the Holiday Hunger programme with Torbay Council, so we provided last year, I think, 75 Christmas hampers, which supported about nearly 200 people in Torbay. And again, that was identified to us by schools who knew of families that were really struggling. And that contained everything for a full Christmas meal, you know, including the gravy granules and the custard, and also gifts for the children. That was a huge amount of logistics. 75 doesn't sound like very many, but actually it's a huge amount of logistics getting that done. And we had a couple of lovely volunteers from the RAF actually who were on furlough and helped us with all the deliveries. We're starting up something which is running at the moment, which is a Be Kind scheme. We're trying to get our young people involved with going out to local businesses and asking them to just offer a pledge to be kind, to display a sticker in their window that they are a Be Kind company. The idea being that during COVID, we seem to get a little bit more community spirit in the world, and people went through a stage of feeling sort of a little bit more like they wanted to help other people, and we felt that, you know, we don't want to lose that, and we're also aware that a lot of people's social confidence has been really badly affected by the lockdowns and not going out in public and feeling very anxious about, you know, am I wearing a mask, am I not wearing a mask? So the Be Kind scheme is an idea that of a business is offering somewhere where if somebody's having a panic attack or is anxious or is just feeling that they need 10 minutes to decompress, that a business with the Be Kind sticker in the window would be somewhere that they would know would be a safe place. So it's a little bit like the Safe Place scheme that runs up country for young people with SEND, but we want to kind of widen it out a little bit. So it's not just for being thoughtful about people that may have special needs, it's actually being thoughtful for absolutely anybody that walks through your door. And of course, we have all of our special projects that we have for helping young people move forward in life. So the Prince's Trust Team Programme, we have a LEAP programme, which is for 16 to 18-year-olds who aren't in educational training, our Youth Hub and Kickstart. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about this one as well, before I come to an end. We are all very passionate about the benefits of the great outdoors. I think we know that being outside in the fresh air, working with your hands, being surrounded by nature is one of the best things that you can do for your mental health. And we've been lucky enough to work at this place called Parkfield. There's a picture here on the screen of the walled garden at Parkfield. which is an absolutely magical little space at the back of the house that our horticulture tutor and some learners have been tidying up. It doesn't actually look like this now because we've taken the daisies down, and we're actually going to be planting some more fruit and veg in there. We've had a lovely little piece of funding from Kew Gardens to plant Devon violets. Obviously, being in Devon, that's something that we're trying to encourage. And the idea is that the Devon violets not only encourage wildlife, they're a very good food source for butterflies, but that we can actually create some Devon violet themed toiletries and possibly sell them from Parkfield. Our plans for Parkfield are hugely ambitious. We'd love to turn it into a fantastic community space for everybody around us to use, as well as our learners. And we've got lots of ideas for ways we want to make this a really lovely venue, craft workshops, a forest school, a community cafe, so our learners can be making lovely stuff and then serving it to people. And again, it's that idea of braiding the learning activities for the young people, but doing it in a way where they'll actually be doing it kind of not just for the sake of doing it, but they're doing it in a way that creates something lovely for the wider community. So that's very much our plans moving forward and what we'd like to be doing. We're looking at expanding the range of health and wellbeing provision that we do and the ways that people can access it. So I've just had some funding through for a mental health coordinator who can actually be at the front of the community shop and engaging with the people that come through the door there and talk to them and see what help and support they need. We've also been talking about the 16 to 18-year-olds that are the not in education, employment or training young people, about tweaking the health and wellbeing program that we're doing to create something that's bespoke for them, so that maybe they would get a sort of 8-week program that would be just about their health and well-being and looking at those problems before we move them on to anything else, because again we're seeing that coming down the line, and we're starting to realize sort of how much support is having to be put in. So that's really where we are. We have our own YouTube channel called FrogTV, which is quite different from Natspec's YouTube channel in that a lot of the content that is on our FrogTV has actually been generated by our learners and staff. And during COVID, we were lucky enough that we had some really quirky and funny videos created for us by some learners and staff, some of them at home, so that we could share them with other learners and staff, and some of them staff and learners did actually in centres. And I think Yola's going to actually show you one of these, which kind of shows how this was one of our young people having a take on the sort of how to wear a mask and how to be safe. And then we put it out as a little public information video for the company. And yeah, that's really a charming thing for him to do and really quite funny. So yeah, I think if we could see that next, Yola, that would be lovely.
Thanks very much, Emma. That was a really interesting presentation. If you could stop sharing your screen and then I'll share mine and show the YouTube film. It's a short, it's about 2 minutes. While I'm showing that, if any of you who are listening would like to ask Emma some questions, there is a Q&A panel on your toolbar. If you want to ask a question, could you type your question into that panel, and we can look at those after we've had a look at the video. So I'm just going to share the screen, my screen now, and hopefully find the video.
The guidelines have changed and we have to ensure that everyone is protected, and to do that we must wear...
Wait a minute, you should have one of these on.
Oh yes, sorry.
From the top.
The guidelines have changed and we have to ensure that everyone is protected, therefore that everyone needs to wear a mask where possible.
Now it's important that we wear our masks correctly. No, not like that, Jimmy.
That's what Batman would wear.
But you're not Batman. Remember, some people can do great things with masks over their eyes, but most of us look like idiots. you need to make sure you cover your nose too.
But I breathe through my nose.
Exactly, and that's why you need to wear a mask. You must not share masks.
Oh, that's much cooler.
Keep your own.
That's mine. I don't care.
No, we need to make sure we are wearing the correct kind of mask. The correct types of masks are made of fabric and have a double layer, or disposable surgical masks. A fabric mask should be washed after use, and disposable masks are one use only.
I made a hole in my mask so I can drink.
I don't think you get this. So let's look at how to wear a disposable face mask correctly. First, take the mask and pull the top and bottom apart like so. Make sure the blue side is facing outwards, then put the elastic straps around your ears like this. Over your nose, shake the mask to make sure that it's fitted correctly. If you need to, you can twist the straps to make the mask tighter. Thank you for watching. Remember, the guidelines have changed, so you need to be wearing your mask wherever possible whilst you're at Eat That Frog. Goodbye!
What a great video.
I think I love that because the young learner that appears in that was actually it was sort of his ideas.
Yeah.
And then
Sorry,
he was directing all the staff. So yeah, it was really charming. So yeah, lovely.
Oh, thank you for that, Emma. I'm just checking the question panel. If anyone's got any questions, please do type them into the Q&A panel, which should be on your toolbar on your screen. Emma, I just wanted to ask you something that was really striking, is that you have clearly lots of different partnerships to support this work. And things such as the example you gave of the young woman who was walking dogs. How do you make those? I mean, how did you find those people? Who are your partners? Who how do you develop those community networks?
It's really interesting because we've got a range of different ways. So with some of the partnerships, it's quite, it'll be sort of my level, and I'll be talking to, and I get involved with things with the NHS, and I'll get in, like the care homes one was me talking to partners at the NHS and them going, oh, could you do this, that and the other, and me going, oh, we could do this, and it works on that level. But with other things, it works very much on the individual level of that young person's tutor. And we're very lucky, I think, in that we've got tutors and we've got teachers, and I'm sure a lot of other colleges are the same, who are very closely enmeshed in the community themselves and live in the area and work in the area, and are always looking out for, okay, well, this is my young person and this is what they're interested in. Now, who can I tap into? And they'll talk to their colleagues and they'll talk to me and they'll talk to other people. And then between us, we'll try and find a way through. And a lot of the very best projects, they happen sort of organically. It's not a case of, right, we're going to go forward with this in mind. It's a case of, okay, well, let's explore the options and then let's see what pops up. And I think it's always being open to opportunities and always having those conversations. Mm-hmm. And making sure that all the staff are sort of talking to each other. And then it's like, I mean, I know being back in centre, I'll have a chat with somebody and they'll say, oh, I was thinking this the other day. And you're like, oh, well, that knits really well with what's happening over here, and we can put the two of you together. And it's making sure that those conversations are flowing, I think. Okay, thanks very much for that. I had another question for you. I was really interested in hearing about the My Life course and the different modules that you showed and the petals on the flower. I know this will be very bespoke depending on the different learners, but is there a time span that you have? Do you have a timeline for how you spend 2 weeks on one module, or the total course lasts 2 months? How is that managed? Again, that is very bespoke. And with the young learners, it would be very much at their pace and very much depending on how they're working with their tutor, because obviously with our young learners, it's all one-to-one. With the learners that are on not on the post-16 education, but still the young learners, and might be on something like Youth Hub, they'd be doing maybe one module a week with a health and wellbeing tutor. So they'd maybe spend 1 or 2 days, they'd be dialing in, or they'd be coming into the centre, and again, it's still quite gentle. With the adult learners, again, some sessions, particularly when it was all online, I think the health and wellbeing tutor was getting through quite quickly. But again, depending on the group, she might find that depending on the issues coming up or the things that are being raised, that she needs to spread it over a slightly longer time. So again, it's one of those things that enables you to be very flexible depending on the people that you're working with.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that. And finally, I wondered whether you could say, I mean, how has winning the Natspec Award had an impact, and has it had an impact on your work around mental health and wellbeing?
I think it really has, Yola. It was a tremendous boost for staff, not just the staff that were involved, but the staff who felt, gosh, yeah, you know, that's really fantastic. We've been recognised for what we do. But it's been really lovely as well, because when I've been going out and talking to people about the things that we do, I've actually been able to say, well, look, we've been recognised for this. And it gives us that little sort of stamp of approval that actually, do you know what, we're doing something right. And it has been, I think, yeah, it's been really lovely. And it's been really lovely to be able to, you know, put that on our website and have that sort of, yes, you know, we've got the Natspec stamp of approval for that one. It has been, yeah, genuinely very, very rewarding.
That's really good to hear. Okay, thanks. Well, I haven't had any questions from people listening, but could they get in touch with you if they wanted to find out anything more about your program?
Yeah, obviously, absolutely not a problem. The best email to get hold of us on is probably the marketing@eatthatfrog.ac.uk.
Thank you.
Through to me or to one of my team. And if it's about something else to do with Eat That Frog, we'll find the right person for you.
Marvellous. Thank you so much, Emma. It's a really interesting presentation, and I think your work's clearly going to go from strength to strength, given what you were saying about different funding coming online and different posts that you're going to be appointing to. I have got a thank you from Sarah, who's enjoyed the webinar. Thank you, Sarah. And unless anyone's got anything else to add in chat or in the question and answer panel, I'm going to close the session for now. Keep well, everyone. I know that there's all sorts of things going on with COVID at the moment, so do take care. And I hope to see you at the next webinar in a couple of weeks. So thanks again, Emma.
Lovely. Thank you, Yola.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.